Hello and welcome to the It's All Good show. My name is Denise Bellil, and I'm a serenity expert and positive intelligence specialist. Yes, it's all good. And that's amazing. I have the show today is the 25th live that I do here on LinkedIn and Facebook. And if you watch this from YouTube, please subscribe to my channel so you know next time my show's coming on, and click on the little bell so that you have a notice every time I post something on Facebook too. And don't be shy to like and reply and say hi in this platform when you're watching so that I know you've watched. If you have any question for me and my guests, I'll be happy to have you. So why is it called It's All Go? Well, it's all good. Well, because it's my favorite cup. It's all good. Why do I like this? Well, I think that's the way of living. That's the way I like to live my life. Whatever happened in my life, whether it's positive or negative, I always say it's all good. Actually, I don't really think anything is negative. Things can be disappointing, things can be scary, but not necessarily negative. Why it's all good? Because whatever happened 5 minutes ago, 2 minutes ago, 5 years ago, even like 2 seconds ago, whatever, I can't change it. You can't change what just happened in the past, and you can change history from way back in the time where that upsets you and you carry that forward. So all I say is it's all good, because we can always choose to see the future the way we want to see it. And what about the going on in the future, as I mentioned, is it's all good because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. You can't tell what's going to happen. It's going to happen tomorrow, in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, in a month. Who knows? Even in 5 minutes, anything can happen. So when you're worrying, actually, let me read that. Worrying, somebody said something today and I wrote it down. Worrying is like praying for the things you don't want to happen, because you're putting that in your mind. You're putting that top of mind. So when you worry, it's like praying for the things you don't want to happen. Think that in your mind. So don't worry ever, because whatever you have in mind, that's what's going to happen. So it's all good. My favorite cup. I always have it right here with me, and it always reminds me to have a positive mindset. So today I'm really excited to have Adrian Starks on my stage with me, sitting in the back room. He's going to come up soon. And we're going to talk about courage to create opportunities in times of uncertainty. Aren't we living in a time of uncertainty? Yes, there's so much that we don't know what's going to happen. We are living in a time of financial, social, and health challenges. Instead of waiting for the things to change for us, if we decide to change the way we look at the things and our strategies. So let me tell you a little bit about Adrian. Adrian is a keynote speaker, podcaster, narrator. Wait to hear his voice. He has an amazing voice. Best-selling author and the founder of Champion Up. His mission is to help entrepreneurs, students, individual and organization with teams who are feeling stuck, uninspired, or unfulfilled to become their own change maker, to become their own change makers. Yes, you can become your own change maker too. You have to decide to do it. And then he said that he gives them tools and strategy to get out of the rut, and the rut they are in, and will empower these individuals to find opportunities within the challenges, no matter how stressful their environment may be. Adrian lives by the supportive changemaker philosophy that began with the desire to help others see that they can courageously make their own changes and become their own champion in any endeavor. Wow, this is exciting. So let's welcome Adrian. Hi, Adrian. This is so
Well,
awesome.
well, hello, Denise, and what a wonderful introduction. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm glad to have you too. So, do you have anything to add on that beautiful introduction that you
You
actually
know,
gave me? But I believe every word of it.
I know. Actually, you were reading. I was like, did I send you that, or did you like add some things in for me? I'm looking around like that. Me she's talking about. Yeah,
I
thank you so
know,
much.
that's
No, it's wonderful.
fantastic. That's really awesome. So thank you for being here today. You're very what's the word? People are looking to get you on their stage, and I'm so excited that you're here with me. It's a great opportunity for me. I remember the first time I ever met you, it was in Surrey, and you were giving a lecture. And I was at the little meeting we had there with Connect Now, and I was very impressed with what you had to bring and what you were talking about. And to this day, I've been really amazed by all the things you've done and all the people you can help with your message. So tell me how, like, your journey of being like a speaker and entrepreneur, and so because I know that you help make changes, and how did that came about, and how did you decide to do this?
Well, I was always destined to be a speaker. When I was a young child, I was given the nickname Motor Mouth because I talked so much. So it was one of those things, it was just bound to happen at some point. I even got in trouble in schools for talking too much when I was a kid. So I just learned to turn that energy now into something that can help people across the planet. But I came from a family of entrepreneurs. So I grew up learning the power of creating opportunities and understanding how important it is to pave your own path and to walk that path of uncomfort if you need to. So I did like most people. I believed in that philosophy, but I also went to college. I graduated with a degree in exercise physiology, and I went into the work world where I was exposed to biomechanics, the stresses on the human body. But when I was in college, Denise, I found this wonderful fascination with philosophy and public speaking and debating. And it was there where I began to hone in on my skills of teaching and talking about certain topics. And so after I graduated, I took that element with me into the work world where I began to work with teams and organizations. And I found myself at the Children's Hospital here in Seattle for about 8 years working as a manager for the
Wow.
trauma unit, the scheduling trauma unit.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
was within that group that I learned a lot about unexpected changes. Imagine walking into the facility and you've got a clinic full of 30 people that have been waiting for weeks and months to be scheduled. And all of a sudden, something comes up, and it happens where you have to call these families, you have to cancel, you have to reschedule. This was happening quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I became so frustrated with, like, how do I deal with this? How do I get my team to deal with this? And it was there I began to dive into personal development. How do I talk to my teams? I began to dive into the problems with changes and challenges. How do we
Yeah.
address it when it comes up? And I spent 8 years honing in on that skill. But then I
Wow.
knew
Yeah.
being there that that wasn't my place. I believe we all have a journey. We all go through certain things to get to a certain point. And my passion was speaking to people, using that motor mouth I just talked about to inspire people across the planet. And I realized that the call center wasn't the place, but here's what I did learn later. The call center was the calling to the centering of my life as a
Mm.
communicator,
Yeah.
as a person to deal with changes and challenges. So I took that skill and I took it outside and I began to teach in personal training and I started doing poetry and I just combined everything together. And I decided that I want to be a speaker. I want to go out here and teach people about what
Yeah.
I've learned in the work field, also in terms of entrepreneurship.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. And I can see, like, being on a call center and especially dealing with people with problems and all that, and how it will first give you strength into um, being able to absorb all that energy of people, right? Like whatever
Mhm.
people brought at you, you had to stay serene, you have to stay whole, you
Yes.
have to be able to relay a message in a proper way without losing your nerves, right? Like it's just like, I gotta stay calm. I'm the one that has the baton here, and I'm the one that has to be strong for these people, right? And I imagine how much you must have learned just by doing that, for that many years.
Well, what I discovered was that as I was in the call center, there would be people from other areas of the call center that would come just to sit and talk with me. They would say, "Hey, can I just sit and talk with you for a minute? I have some problems, and I know that you're good at talking and helping people feel better." I had the stones all around my desk, Denise. I had my plants. It was a nice serenity. You know all about serenity. You're the
Yeah,
serenity expert, right? So I had to get this place where I could just have people feel good about being there.
that's
And
so
that's when I
cool.
discovered that it was more than just me helping schedule people. I actually had this ability to help people navigate through things. And then I just decided, you know what? I'm going to take this outside of here and let's see what I can do with it.
Hmm. So how did you end up calling that like champion? So being part of your message. So how did that come about to be champion up and champion?
Oh, great question. When I was a kid, once again, I had many nicknames. The other nickname was the champ that my uncle gave me
Mm.
because I was just tenacious. Now, during that time, and I was born in the 80s, they called it being a hard head. When you would do something, you wouldn't stop and you would keep doing it until you got it. Well, I call it now being tenacious
Hmm.
and being committed, right? And so from day one, he knew that I was going to be something much greater than what he's seen before. So he would call me champ, champ, champ. And to this day, he still calls me that. So I
Cool.
embraced that. And I said, okay, what is actually a champion? And I began
Mm.
to do my research on that. And what I discovered was that it was a 13th century Latin word that means warrior, advocate, or defender of a cause. Now, when you think about that, what have we been taught? Champions are people who are in competition with one another, or
Mm.
that they have won something, a gold medal, some record. They had to play a sport or some competitive thing. And so a lot of us have pretty much exiled ourselves from being champions in our own lives because we think that it's something that belongs to the elite. And it doesn't.
Mhm.
A champion becomes a champion in the mind first and then in the physical form, which is how they
Mm.
create the reality. So we can actually be champions in our lives, but a lot of us, we have fallen down and we have not gotten back up. It's a great quote from Socrates, the Greek philosopher. And he said that failure is not where one has fallen, it is where one has remained once they have fallen. And I thought about this quote. I said, okay, if we have fallen and we've forgotten what kind of champions we are, we need to get back up.
Mhm.
Thus, champion up, the idea, the philosophy was born. I
Oh, that's
realized
super
that,
cool.
yeah, we're already champions. We have to just get back up in our hearts and in our minds, connect the two, and to begin to advocate for what we feel passionate about in our lives.
Yeah, I think that's super cool because often, like as you were mentioning earlier, we compare ourselves to others all the
Hmm.
time, right? Like, oh, you're such a much better podcaster than I am, and he's so much better than I am, and she is so much beautiful than I am, and this and
Hmm.
that, and but in reality, all we have to be better of is us yesterday.
Hmm.
You know,
Absolutely.
as long as you always
Absolutely.
improve, as long yourself, I'm better than I was a year ago, I'm better
Hmm.
than I was 2 weeks ago, right? Like you always have to be better than yourself. It's good to have, I think, to a point, like guideline or idols, in a sense, like, okay, to thrive towards, but not to
Hmm.
push ourselves down. Or I'm not as good as I'm in the process of being that person. I'm in the process of being an Oprah, for example, right? I'm in the
Yes.
process of, being my own Oprah more than anything else, more than, like being her. It's like being my version of, right?
Hmm.
And I think that makes a difference. And I like that, champion up, like just get back up. It's a lot of tenacity and resilience too, right?
Yeah. It's more than, and I want people to understand too, it's not a rah rah like motivation thing of like, oh, if I can do it, you can do it. No, let's just be honest. Life gets hard, it can kick our ass, and we've all been there. So it's not an easy walk in the park. It requires an action of what we call habits and
Mm.
behaviors, and you have to work at that. And that's why I wanted to create a philosophy behind it. It wasn't just, well, you just need to just champion up and get out there and do it. It's like, no, what do you want to advocate for? What is in your value system right now? What are you operating from? Because that's going to be the thing that's going to allow you to push through the challenges and to create your own opportunities. And that's
Mm.
what I love. And I love that you said too about competition. And I believe this: I don't compete, I create.
Hmm.
I look to people for inspiration.
Yeah.
And I say, okay, that's where I would like to be someday. But I've learned to create from what I can. When I first started speaking, Denise, I wore the suit and tie. I regurgitated the same information that other speakers that I aspired to be said. And I kept wondering, why was I not making any money? Why was I not getting in front of my ideal audience? Because it was this: I wasn't being authentic. I
Yeah.
didn't know who I was. So I dropped the suit and tie. Literally, I'll never wear one again unless I'm,
Yeah,
speaking
there's
at
always
the
an occasion, but yeah, I see what
Inc.
you're saying.
500 or something like that. Yeah, of course I'll wear a suit and
Yeah,
tie.
yeah,
But mostly I wore my polo shirt. You'll see me with my earrings. You'll see me with my beard and my stones. I love to wear my gemstones. So that's
hmm
me. It doesn't take away my credibility to teach, though. And this is what I want people to see out here right now. You have to
yeah,
create something for yourself where you can show up authentically in this world where everyone is trying to be like everybody else. And it does not work that way. If you have a business, okay, great. Who's in your line of work? And how can you be different? Not because you want to be better than them, but
yeah.
because you want to reach the people that need to hear and see you.
Yeah, you don't, people actually, I mentioned Oprah earlier. Well, people don't want to have 1,000 Oprah out there,
Mm.
because then it kind of dilute the message, right? It dilute
Yeah.
the idea of the power that she has. And but striving to make a difference, striving to be the best of that you can be, striving to be better
Mhm.
tomorrow than you are today, striving to touch more people and change more lives. I think that's very, very important. And but how do you, like saying that, but how do, why is it important to learn to focus on creating changes? And like, how does that work? Like, because people, they want to create changes in their life, but
Mhm.
I'm sure they don't know where to start. So
Great question. And once again, change is not an easy walk in the park either. But I
mhm.
will talk about the perspectives of it. Here's the thing that I want us all to understand: change is inevitable. I think we've seen this since 2020. Just things will happen that we cannot control,
Out of
and
our
our worlds,
control, for sure. I
our
agree with
world,
that.
but you know what? It's all good, right?
Mm,
We have to keep rolling with it. And I say
yeah.
this: either you can learn to roll with change, or you can be dragged by it. And
Mm.
trust me, the dragging part is not so fun. It
No.
wastes a lot of your energy and your time to create something better. So, why do you need to understand the commitment of being your own change maker? Well, here is the thing: you're always going to have challenges. And this is what I've learned about challenge. In the word challenge is the word change.
Change. Type it
And
up, people, if you don't believe it. Challenge. There's change in there.
change. So why is challenges so hard? Well, challenges are, here's another word inside the word challenge: call. Challenges are a call for us to change something about ourselves in that moment in time that can help us create a different reality. I call it growing forward. So when you're perplexed with something and it's making you feel a certain way emotionally, you got to check your barometer on that, because your emotions are just energy in motion. So that means that something is not setting right with you, and you've got to get it right. So that means you got to sit down and figure out, what can I change about myself within this situation? Don't point the finger. And a lot of people do this.
Oh, that's
It's
your
not
turn.
my fault. I didn't do that. It's not my fault. Well, here's the thing: you point your finger, you got three pointing right back at you. So you're just as responsible for what happens next. And I used to be the person that would point the fingers
hmm
and say, wasn't my fault that I ended up in the situation. That person changed on me, or this situation changed on me. And I'm so far from that now. I just say, okay, I've got a little bit of a problem here. So what do I do about it?
Yeah.
And that's where you take your personal pain, your personal frustration, and you turn it into your personal power. So for the
Yeah.
leaders out here that are watching this video, speakers, coaches, you're going to have challenges with your clients and even people in your family, your friends. And this concept I'm going to teach today is going to help you to navigate through that a little bit better. It won't completely resolve it, because this is what I teach. You have to go through systems. That's what it's all about, in behaviors. But there's 3 steps quickly
Hold
today
on.
that I'm going to
Pull
share.
out your pens and paper, everyone. Make sure you take a second. Give them a second. Pen and paper.
Give them
It's
a second.
important. All right, go ahead.
All right, well, so we're going to change some minds today. So the first step to being a change maker is acceptance.
Hmm.
You got to accept the facts. I think it was Howard Thurman. He was a mentor to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He said there's a time where we all must sit ourselves down and accept our facts. We must have a personal civil war with the person inside of us, the person who we think we are and the person who we are truly are and we want to be. So you have to think about acceptance. Have you accepted the situation for what it is? Literally. Have you accepted it? I'm not saying that it's not going to hurt. I'm not saying that you're not going to feel frustrated. I'm not saying that you're going to wish things would go back, but have you accepted? Have you surrendered to that present moment?
And that's the difference between surrender and giving up, right?
Big difference. Big difference. Surrendering means you're allowing yourself to move on. You're not staying attached because we live in the past in our minds, which creates stress and anxiety and fear and anger. And that is the energy that we cannot use for our success. It drains our energy, actually. So acceptance is the first step. Now, you may say, well, that sounds easy. It's not easy. It's not. It's not
easy. It took me years.
It takes time to get to that point. But I'm giving everyone today the starting. I'm getting you out of the gates a little bit here. So acceptance. And once you move through acceptance, then think about the second step now. That is addressing. Okay? So we've accepted, we've moved and said, okay, now I know this has happened, can't change that. So what do I do next? What can I do on my end to make some changes? And this is where the change comes within the challenge here, right? We're going back to that challenge and then change inside. So what can I do now to change how I am with the situation? Are you good with it? Is it all good with you now? You know, is it not? What do you need to change? Maybe you need to change your environment. Go somewhere where you can clear your head. Change who you're talking to, because sometimes people can disrupt or dismantle what we need to do. They can bring us back to an old way of thinking. So do you have the wrong people in your ear? Do you need to change that source? You have to think about those things. What can you change right now that you've accepted your facts? So that's the second step, is addressing it. The third step is the hardest step of all. And this is where people get stuck. And that is embracing. Now, when I say the word embrace, you say, well, no, I just addressed it, so that meant I embraced it. No, it doesn't. Because embracing now means that you've got to take whatever comes with that decision you just made.
Yeah.
Where I said you got to step away from something. Maybe it's from something, some business, some idea, some person, somebody. There's going to be a result to that. It could be a backlash. It could be a feeling, an emotion that comes with that. And this is the embracing. Yes, this is the embracing part. Now you have to embrace and have the courage to possibly be disliked. You have to have the courage to be seen as possibly crazy now that you've made your decision.
Yeah.
And Henry Ford said this: the airplane takes off against the wind, not with it. So the embracing part, think about the airplane taking off. You got your engine going, you accepted it. Now you're on the runway, you're addressing it, you're taking off. And all of a sudden now you're hitting some turbulence. And that's called embracing, baby. That's called now you've got to face some resistance.
I'm all in. Yeah.
And here we go. This is where people most often will stop. Right at that point, because it doesn't feel so good.
Yeah. Well, it's not always, initially it could seem like it's not for the better. But it's that hurdle that you have to go past. Once you pass that hurdle, once you embrace
gotta
it,
get beyond that point,
then you're like the airplane. You have to go against the wind. You got to go up. But once you're in the air, then it's easier.
It's easier once you hit that point where you go beyond the resistance. Now you can see things.
Yeah.
And now you can look down and say, "Wow, why was I resisting that?" And that's what we call the after effect. And this is why it's so important to understand that to be a change maker, you have to think about those 3 steps when you're creating a change. You can't just say, well, I just need to change it. Okay, great. Well, a lot of people are saying that. They're not doing it. So a lot of people say that there's a lot of people that say what they need to do, but they don't do it. Have you noticed that? They say, well, I'm going to do this, or this needs to be done. And it never gets done because they're not going through those steps and they're not taking action. And I am all about action, Denise, and you know this, and you're all about action. To be a change maker, you got to create action. You got to move.
Well, that's why my business is called In Motion Coaching.
Yes.
because you got, regardless of how fast or how far you start moving, you just have to start moving. It's like I see that like a big train. I have a butterfly as my logo, if you see it on top of your
I
head there.
love that logo.
But it's like, it's just one wing of a butterfly can create an hurricane at the other side of the country, right?
Mhm.
Like, it's because it starts really small, a tiny little step, like 1% change every day will change your life in 100 days.
It
So
can.
it's
And what
just
we
tiny. If you want to take 200 days, well, do 0.5% every day,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely, change is change regardless of how small or big the step is. And what
Yeah.
we have to understand too is that nothing in this planet stands still. Nothing
Hmm.
in this planet grows to half its capacity. It all grows to its fullest capacity. And we have to
Yeah.
take that as a life lesson. It's like, if you're not growing, you're not changing. If you're not changing, you're not stepping outside of your area of comfort. And this
Yeah.
is what I discovered.
Yeah, and that's what it is. So when we don't change, then it's like people that, in French we have an expression, is like métro boulot dodo, which is you drive to work, you go to work, and then you come back home, you sleep, you go to work, you come
Mhm.
back to work, like, it's just a routine, and you're sitting comfortably. So what else would you have to give people advice on? If they don't change, what's going to happen,
Mhm.
right?
And that's the power of change. It's going to happen. And we're going to go back to that phrase again. You can either move with change, do those 3 steps, or you can be dragged by change,
Yeah. Yeah. So
because change is
instead
going
of
to happen.
making the choices yourself, you're
Mhm.
just going to be in that tsunami, and you'll be on the wave carrying you in a direction
Mhm.
that you haven't chosen, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's very powerful. So if you're afraid of changes, people out there, so don't be afraid, it's
Mhm.
just one step at a time.
And
So
here's the one thing I want to say too, and I know you're going to move to the next thing here, but I got to say this.
go
So
for
when
it.
we're speaking of change, I want us to be very clear here about being fearless. I want to challenge you all today to think about this term, fearless. How many of you have heard people say that? You got to be fearless. Just jump off your thing and have no wings and you'll be okay. No,
Yeah,
you need a
it's scary.
parachute. You need a
Scary
plane.
like shit. You stand on the edge, and it's like, oh my god, I can't do
I
this.
I have done that and I've fallen on my face many times. And trust me, you need a parachute, you need a plan. So here's the thing about being fearless. I don't believe that we are fearless, but I do believe that we can fear less. And like you
Mm,
said, Denise, think about that space between fear, space, less. Take a deep breath between fear and less, please. Okay, is it detrimental to your life? Is it going to take you off the planet? Possibly not. Okay, so now we're in the middle. Now we can decide. Accept, address, embrace, move forward, grow forward.
mhm.
So don't think that you have to be fearless. It's okay to have some fear. You're going to
Yeah,
have that. But ask yourself, what exactly am I fearing right now? And that's what I wanted to say about that when we move through those
yeah,
changes.
yeah. In the meeting that I was this morning, one of the speaker was saying that when you have fear, or if you're yeah, fear, a lot of time also is because you're not prepared,
Hmm.
right? So take the time to be prepared, but don't take 10 years to be prepared to make a change, right? But as
Yeah,
I
please don't.
mentioned too, and you mentioned, it's like the little tiny change, like make one step, do one change, little tiny change. You don't have to change the whole thing. Like, for example, this year I want to be more active because I've had a car accident in June 2020, and since then I've been less active, and I've been, giving myself the excuse of, well, I da da da. That's why I can't do it. And I'm celebrating right now my first full month, woohoo, of being active every day. Like, I took that
I
calendar,
love
and
it.
every day I make my X. And if it happened one night, I think it might have been the 23rd. And it was like 8 o'clock at night, and I had not put my X on it. And I was like,
Mm.
holy crap, it's 8 o'clock at night. It's pouring rain, whatever. And I don't want to go out. What am I going to do? And then I didn't feel like I have a stationary bike, and I didn't feel like doing the stationary bike. So what I did is I just stand, my desk goes up and down. I raise my desk, and then I walk, like right here watching a video online, and I just get moving, and then I was doing sidestep or whatever, but I moved for at least half an hour. And that's my goal, moving, doing activities for at least half an hour every day, because I'm sitting here all the time. So, but because I started day 1 and 2 and 3, and day 23rd, I had not done it. And I was like, I got to do it. My little tiny parts of doing, even if it's just walking here,
Mhm.
stepping in front of my computer and just do it. And I did it. It was not as heart beating or sweating, like I would normally do, but I did it, right? And it's
But you
just
did it.
keep
That's the most
doing it.
important thing. You
It's
did it.
just being consistent. And now I'm celebrating 31 days in a row of
Woo!
doing at least 30 minutes every day. So sometimes it's more, sometimes it's more, because it's never less.
Mhm.
So tell me about success, because I'm celebrating my success right now. And what does success mean to you?
Ooh, now that is definitely my language there. Success. Woo. Okay, let's start first with success and achievements. I think
Okay.
that those are two different components. They can be
Mm-hmm.
merged, but I think a lot of us don't feel like we're successful because we haven't achieved a certain amount of things. And this is where I want people to understand that success actually is different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
My success is not the same as Denise's success, or Denise's success is not the same as mine or anyone else's. It could be, but a lot of times it's not. And the idea about success is it's an action, it's progression towards something. You're
Okay.
in movement towards something.
Mm-hmm.
Success is an action.
Yeah.
So currently, you could be a very successful person if you're acting towards something that you are mindful about. Not just, casually saying, "Oh, we'll just see where the wind takes me. We'll see where 2022 takes me. We'll see what happens." No, that's not being successful. You're just waiting for luck.
It's like if I would have said, "Oh, I'll see if I had time to do my 30 minutes of
Yeah,
movement
no.
every day, like
Mm-mm.
whatever." I will not have celebrated 31 days of doing it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you are indeed a successful person because you are doing the things and you have a plan and you're moving toward the things you want to experience.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you accomplish something, that's called achievement. That's great. But where people really get confused is, if I've achieved this, then okay, all right, well, what next? And that's the great question. What next? Because our brains are designed for two things: to serve us and to protect us. And your brain is constantly seeking, okay, what's the next goal you got for me here? And this is
Mm-hmm.
why some person can be, we can ask the question, they have so much. Why are they still moving forward? Why are they still so active? Well, it's because we are designed to achieve things.
Yeah.
We're designed
Yeah.
to be in motion. It's okay to be content, but it's better to be constructively discontent. Because when you're that way, you know that, okay, I've got this. I appreciate it. I have much gratitude, but there's more for me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where success begins. Success is basically a succession of activities that you're doing towards something. And this is where happiness comes from. Happiness is a byproduct of that. So
Yeah.
when you're moving and you're successful in those things, there's a sense of emotion that arises because you know that you're fulfilling something that means much to you, the values that we talked about earlier. And that becomes the happiness. And people can say, well, how come this person has all this and they're not happy? Well, it's
Mm-hmm.
because of success. They thought that having this would make them happy and that would be successful, but it's not, because success is not what you have, it's what you do.
Yeah.
It's who you are. It's what you're trying to accomplish on this planet. That allows you to be successful. So when the people are listening today and watching, no matter where you are, you could be like me. You could have been in a call center looking out at the freeway saying, someday, someday. But you know what? I left that call center when I started believing that I was already successful, because I started planning my exit strategy.
Mm-hmm.
I started moving toward that. And you know what happened? I felt happier in my environment. And I grew beyond my environment.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty. So for me, success, it means, you know what? I'm going to go back to what Maya Angelou said. I'm full of quotes. Maya Angelou, the great poet, dancer, singer, she said that success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do
Mm.
it. And I see success
Yeah.
as that. Success is knowing who you are in the pursuit of what you are doing?
Yeah.
Are you consciously aware that what you are doing is creating a reality for yourself? And is that the reality you want? And if it is, you're successful.
Yeah. And I posted a quote today, and I don't remember the exact quote. It was from Gandhi, but in a nutshell, it was, happiness is when whatever you say, whatever you think, whatever you do
Mm-hmm.
is aligned,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, it's,
Exactly.
if whatever you think, do, and act upon is aligned with your value,
Mm-hmm.
you'll have happiness, you'll have success, you'll have, you cannot be incongruent in saying one thing but acting under another, right?
Mm-hmm.
If everything is aligned and everything goes with your beliefs and your values,
Mm-hmm.
then you'll be successful, you'll be happy, you'll create unlimited, success and happiness in your life. And what does
Absolutely.
success mean to a person? Well, it's up to them to decide it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does success mean, like, I remember doing workshop where we asked, the people attending is, and saying, okay, what's being rich mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's being, wealthy mean? And some
Mm-hmm.
people would say, oh, it's to make, $3,000 a month, and some people would say it's to make $1 million a month, or it's to not have to work and have money coming in, or whatever. But for everybody, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with wanting, for example, $3,000 a month, if that's what makes someone happy and enough. Like, sometimes you just
Exactly.
need enough and you're happy and you just go on, and that's what you need. And maybe that person that would have the $3,000 a month would just, like, happily live their life and be fulfilled and happy and joyful, and make the best of it. Some of the
Mm-hmm.
people might want more, but it's all depend on each individual, or what makes them successful and what makes them happy.
It certainly does. It's an individual thing. And back to what
Mhm.
you were saying earlier about our conversation regarding competing and comparing.
Yeah.
Remember this, everyone. Success is different for everybody. So if someone's successful over here, you cannot say, oh my, what am I doing with my life? Well, they were doing quite a bit with theirs. They've been through a lot. That's what you're seeing as a byproduct. You're seeing the
Yeah.
result.
Yeah.
So don't get caught up in looking at the result and thinking that you can't get there or you can't be there. It's like you have to go through the motions of activity. Like Denise said, having structure, having a plan,
Yeah.
and marking out your list. I love your idea, Denise, marking the X's on the count. I like that idea. I think that's a wonderful idea.
I'll show it
Can we
again.
show
I'm
that again?
so
Yeah, let's do
proud.
that again.
You see every day. Dee, dee, dee,
See,
dee.
I love that. And
So
that's a visual
I'll get
cue.
to turn a page tomorrow. So what does that say? This one, so because it's February, it says you are loved.
You are loved.
So
That is it.
February start tomorrow.
You are loved. And that idea that you're doing is what we call confidence boosters. When you see that you're making these gradual changes, it just lets you know that you're focused on your path. When you don't have that going on, so a lot of us are listening today, you don't have a path that you're drawing out for yourself, you get caught up in looking at the paths of other people.
Hmm.
This happens a lot with social media. I'm going to go ahead and say this. So many of us have gotten caught up in social media. You're looking at other people's lives, you're looking at other people, what they're doing. You're saying, oh my goodness, I wish I had that. Follow them around for a day or two, for a week. Trust
Yeah.
me, it's not that much sunshine going on. You're
Hmm.
catching moments,
Yeah.
split moments in time. And what you have to realize is that look to people for inspiration and say, oh, you know what? I'm happy for them. That's awesome. But don't get down on yourself because you're a
Exactly.
totally different person. You have a different world reality
Yeah.
you need to focus on.
And create your own happiness. And you don't have
Yes.
to, like, I found that, people feel that something will be lacking in their life, and that's okay if you do it. No big judgment, just a tiny one. But, you know, tiny one. But people that are posting, what they ate for dinner, and things like that, there's a balance in there,
Hmm.
right? Because they see other people. Like, it depends why you do it, right? Like,
Hmm.
I have a friend of mine. She's a chef, so of course she will put the cuisine that she prepare and all that, because that
Hmm.
kind of promotes her in some ways. And and but I feel like I'm digging myself in the hole right now. But
Well, let me
But
help you. Let me help you get you out of the hole. I can
yeah,
help you.
please get me out of the house. But what I mean by that, like, just, we're live, so that's how it is.
Mhm.
But what comes to that is whatever people see on social media,
Mhm.
like they make an opinion of you by what they see on social media. Let's put
Mhm.
it this way.
Mhm.
So whether you're, and that's fine. That's fine if
Mhm.
you want to rant and scream and yell and condescend other people and give your opinion. Hey,
Mhm.
power to you. But that's how people see you,
Power to you.
right? Power to you. But if you want to be, depends who you are. Maybe you are that person and people recognize you and say, oh yeah, that's Johnny, it's just the
Mhm.
way he is. But if you're out there and you want to be liked, and you want to be liked, but you want to be a good person and you want to
Mhm.
be recognized as a good person, depending on what you do,
Mhm.
then whatever you put on your social media would be a reflection of who you are, right?
Intention.
The
Intention is
intention.
everything. What are you getting? What are you trying to achieve by accomplishing that? By putting this on social media?
Yeah,
Like, what
yeah.
is your intention behind? This is where we have to be consciously aware of what we're doing. If you're putting it out there because you have a business and this is part of your language and your messaging, great. But if you're doing it because you're just trying to impress this person, or trying to show people that, hey, my life is not so bad after all, then you have to question that and just say, okay, why really do I need to do this? And the reason why I brought this up to these is because for our audience, they're probably thinking, how the hell do we get on social media? Well, this is why we got on social media. Is because social media is a huge contributing factor to people not moving forward
Hmm.
and not becoming successful in their own way. Social media can trigger you to not give it more. You get
Hmm.
discouraged by seeing things, whether it be problems of the world, other people's success, and you stop in your tracks because you're playing the comparison game. It's
Yeah.
so important that you use social media as a tool to create what you want to create. Use it as a tool to learn about things that you're passionate about. If you're interested in something, go on social media. Okay, go to a group that's talking about that thing and that you're passionate about, and maybe just be a part of that.
Yeah. If you like dog trainings, well, find dog trainings,
Find that.
groups, and
Yeah. When I
go
was
have
speaking,
fun and share and learn. And
when I got into speaking, I joined speaking groups because I wanted to know
uh-huh.
what's the language going on in these groups. What's the topic of conversation? And that's what
Hmm.
I use social media for. People know me. They don't see me posting things on social media of my personal life too much, because here's the thing. I decided to use social media as a tool to help inspire people. And
Hmm.
I do not, this
Same
is my
here.
value. I do not believe that I need to show pictures of what I'm doing 24/7 to get people to be inspired by me. That's not what I want to do. I
Yeah.
want to provide ways of wisdom and understanding. And every now and then you'll see a post of something of me, right? So that's my intention for social media, because I want people to understand that, your success, it comes from you. You radiate that out. But
Hmm.
social media can suck it out of you if you don't approach it and understand it for what it really is.
I felt like we went on a big tangent there.
We did, but this is all part of the
Part of
success
changes and who
bracket.
we want to
The
be.
success bracket, because many people think success is just about, well, if I can just know how to do this and I do it well, then I'm successful. Success is actually your lifestyle. So
Yeah.
I want to touch base on social media quickly to let people know that don't get caught up in the comparison games.
Yeah.
Use people for
Yeah.
inspiration, but not compare.
Yeah. And it makes a big difference in
Mhm.
and how people, because like go back to the beginning if you miss some people, because that's what we talked about, right? Like, it's be the best you can be today for yourself,
Mhm.
better than yesterday and better tomorrow,
Mhm.
and keep moving forward. And little changes, 1% or half a percent or a quarter% changes every day will definitely take you in a total direction in the future.
Mhm.
And embrace the change, embrace the effect that you have on your own life, but also the life of others, because
Mhm.
we're all influencers in our own ways, because people are watching, people are
Yes.
always watching. Your friends, your neighbors, your family, your kids, if you have kids, they're definitely kids, they're watching you. And you wonder, why is your kids have temper tantrums? Well, look at the way you act around them, and maybe you'll recognize something, right? Like they're watching, they're copying us, they are a sponge for what we do. So if you want to create changes in your environment, change yourself first, and you'll see it's just going to trickle down.
Exactly. Change yourself first.
And so, Adrian, do you have, we're coming to a close already, 45 minutes. So we're like
Right.
ticking away, like we could talk for 2 hours.
So
But is there anything that you would like to share as of like, how can people contact you? What can people do if they want to know more and be in touch with you? And I'll put that in the chat under either YouTube, it'll be in the comment below, or on the comment in all the platform we're in. So
sure. Yes, they can contact me by going to my website, adrianstarks.net.
Okay.
I'm there. They can also contact me through social media. So on my website, there's an email address. You can always reach out to me directly, or follow me on my Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm always there. And I also have a podcast. So it's called The Purposeful Life Show. And so if you're wanting to hear more of my voice and hear me speak with other amazing people than like Denise and other great leaders, then go check out The Purposeful Life Show. And just go in, Google it, and you'll find it, and subscribe, and make sure you share with other people. And it's all about spreading the energy of love and creativity.
So Adrian will give me all these links. So I'll put that in our in the chat below this platform, wherever you're watching this from. And I'm so grateful that you were here with me today. That's candies to my mouth, and the cherry on top of the cake. And next week I will be joined by Tracy Pullman, and Tracy is a what's the word that she is? She helps you look good on camera. So she will take things that are in your wardrobe, and she will tell you how to wear them together, how to accessorize, how to look your best nowadays from the waist up. And and so, because I'm wearing nice pants, but we don't have to. And but that'll be interesting. I follow a couple of her web seminar that she gives, and she's a great friend of mine. So come and check Tracy next week at noon Pacific time. We'll be here. And if you're watching a replay, well, if it's past the 7th of February, just look below. It'll be somewhere in there. So thank you so much, Adrian. It was a pleasure to have you with me today. And thank you for those that have listened to. If you have any question as you listen to that, share. Please subscribe onto my YouTube channel. If you're watching that on YouTube, click on the little bell so that you're notified whenever I post something. And until next time, be kind to one another.